We are about to enter the age of the fifth dimension of awakening, and the process to get us to that place is called the Great Spiritual Awakening of Humanity. As we can all see during this year of 2020, whenever there is a planetary expansion about to happen, the forces of opposition endeavor to limit this process so that the balance of darkness as a force in relation to light can be maintained without any reduction of its power or influence. The Earth is going through an ascension at this time into a higher vibration and dimensional awareness. What this means is that she is joining her physical body with the higher frequencies of light so that she can participate in the galactic harmonic of spiritual light in an entirely new way. This harmonic is one that pervades the illuminated planets of light, and it is one that the Earth has been waiting to arrive at for a long, long time. The Earth's energy body is the primary vehicle through which this transformation is occurring, and, much as it is with the individual human body, the Earth's body must free itself of all that stands in the way of moving into the higher frequencies of light before becoming completely able to do so. This greater awakening is meant to be a great gift, though it brings with it the problem of having to finally deal with those things that one would rather have concealed from the self, or put away until such time as it seemed more comfortable to take them out. Nevertheless, awakening consciousness to the true nature of the self is of great and priceless benefit, for it enables each soul to finally become free of all that holds it back from realizing its true potential. This self-constriction is not based on circumstances that flow through life and come and go, but rather on the inner nature of deeply held thought and belief, which define the expectancies and the fruits of life. These are the building blocks out of which the flow of life is created. This new awakening process will shine a light more brightly than ever before on the internal mechanisms by which people think, feel, and make choices in their everyday lives. All that is hidden from the eyes of others will become known to the self, and the motives that are less than desirable will also become visible to the illuminated awareness. In the present moment, the movement toward greater visibility of self is still quietly moving along subtle channels, creating little disturbance of the inner landscape. It is still not being perceived as the wave of change that it is, and only some who are more sensitive to the ebbs and flows of thought and feeling, or those who are suddenly having to deal with stronger surges of darkness and negativity, are becoming aware of what this wave is bringing. Yet within a short space of time, many more will become aware of the things that have been hidden and will need to know what to do with all the levels of thought and feeling that suddenly become part of everyday awareness. The roots of the spiritual awakening and earth ascension find their way into deeper levels of the heart and mind and begin to transform the self from within. One must remember that love is the foundation for what is happening, and it is sufficient to this purpose. For it is God's love for each soul that has made possible the spiritual evolution of mankind throughout time. Therefore, trust love. Trust it to lead one forward from level to level of new awareness and greater openness. It is necessary that God enter the picture. For the phenomenon of illuminated awareness is not caused by the self, nor by any motives that reside within, nor by any external circumstance. Rather, the phenomenon of awakening is caused by divine timing and ordination, which has finally moved to sound the call for humanity's movement forward, and to shine the light of truth into the domain of ordinary consciousness. This is the time of the great purification for mankind, and for the letting go of that which needs to be let go of, in order that each soul become free. The great awakening of humanity lies within each soul, and does not need to be sought outside of the self. It is a path of truth that has been implanted within the soul since the time of its beginnings, a path that leads irrevocably to the center of its own life, and to the center of the life of the world, which is God. It does not matter in pursuit of this truth whether one is a Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, atheist, or Jew. the experience of inner truth can come to all alike, irrespective of what the mind believes. Holding this fundamental premise assists the process, however, for if one does not believe an experience is possible, then one will not seek it or open to it when it arrives. Sometimes light is strong enough to circumvent this resistance, and sometimes the resistance prevents a step forward from being taken, at least for a time. There are some who will continue to feel hardened to their own inner process of learning and who will deny it in others. And there are some who will feel abused or humiliated or attacked by their very own self and the inner life that is opening. What is important to remember at this time is that what begins in confusion will end in hope. What begins with distress at things that have never been experienced before will end in a simplicity of being and an expanded space within the self that will bring greater peace and a greater capacity to share oneself with others in a true way. It will also bring, in the end, a greater awareness of God's love and of God's gifts to humanity. This is the miracle of the time we are in, and for which all souls have waited, namely, that the life of God that has existed in all beings without exception shall finally become more visible, an ordinary reality as it exists in trees, brooks, grass, leaves, clouds, air, mist, earth, shall finally take on the visibility of light that has always been part of the structure of life forms, but never part of their radiance. Now, life shall radiate light. All forms of life are moving into this next step of awakened consciousness, and all forms of nature will be affected as well by the increased light of awareness. Yet it is the human being who will be most acutely affected, since it is human awareness that is differentiated in the most subtle and complex ways, and that responds most to the emotional domain of existence. Nevertheless, all of nature shall respond to this call to awaken, and both plant and animal life shall feel and seem more alive, more vibrant, and more conscious. There are forces of opposition that are actively seeking to prevent the Earth from taking this step into the next stage of her evolution and consciousness. She has been involved with three-dimensional reality for a very long time, and the forces of opposition would seek to keep her in this more limited state so that light would not expand on a larger galactic level. Many who have come through the human evolutionary cycle know nothing of such cosmic battles between light and darkness except what they have read in novels. And yet the whole history of mankind has been shaped in large measure by the triumph of light over the intentionality of oppositional forces to undermine the forward progression of human evolution. For those who fear this time, it is important to know that all who are here on the earth have come in order to be part of this great transition, and there is no one who will not be helped with the process by divine aid, as well as by the light of their own soul. The music of that soul shall begin to sound more loudly in the ears and hearts of each one, and each one shall begin to find the inner guidance that will lead them through the newness and uncertainty of this time. For this reason, the forces of light have marshaled all those who carry light consciously within their beings to serve in an active way as servants of the light, so that the present danger of darkness undermining the evolution of planetary expression cannot be successful. The integration of individual consciousness into the network of collective consciousness, as it occurs on a global basis, has a great deal to do with how the plans of the forces of light are being carried out, and how the plans of the forces of darkness will be defeated. The need for this active participation at this time in the process of planetary ascension and the awakening of humanity is very great, which is why those who guide humanity are seeking in every way to uphold those beings who are being adversely affected by the forces of darkness, even while the light within them continues to expand. This task of remaining firmly wedded to the principles of light and truth and to the presence of God's love is of the highest importance in terms of holding the earth in the balance of light, so that no amount of destructiveness that is unleashed in a physical way can have the potential of undermining the purposes of God and of light. The entire earth, in its heart and in its energy body as well as in the consciousness of many individual souls, is waiting for this pain to be lifted, is waiting for the new birth and new awakening that will enable humanity to break through seemingly intractable situations that are spiraling out of control to a new way of being with each other and with life. The world is waiting, as are the realms of light, for the awakening of a new impulse of light that will be of sufficient strength to disrupt the present covering of darkness and enable all to feel and to know what has always been present, the truth of God's reality, light, and love. Those who are aligned with the intentions of light wait with every member of the Earth's planetary body for the moment in time when the suffering that is being caused by the illusion of separation will be gone from the Earth, and when the planetary body of the Earth, as well as all her inhabitants, will know themselves to be one with each other and one with the divine source of light and love that has given each one birth.